My name is Rachel Kaye. I'm going to be talking about my exhibition Sweeping at Part 2 Gallery in Oakland, California. I guess I take my inspiration from kind of a lot of things. Lately, I think because everything being so small and tight, like just being at home, I really started looking a lot just at my environment and spent a lot of time outside in my garden. And I think I'm always trying to look for new shapes, and I want there to be like kind of a hint of something recognizable or like a trace of something. And so I was kind of really getting into this idea of these sort of pieces left behind, and then being able to play with them and manipulate them. And they slowly evolve into their own shape and form, but using them as tools, as like vehicles for shapes that would then start and turn into a painting or drawing. I think about color so much, and in some ways, I think the crutch of my work is about color, and that sensitivity of it. And I would say I'm a colorist because I really will nerd out and make how many different pinks can I make, how many different greens can I make, a warm green and a cool green, and I love, how gray can I make a green before it's just gray. So I think about color all the time, and then I think about going back to kind of this idea of memory and finding things, is that I'll see a color and like or even like two colors together and the way they're interacting out in the world, even if it's on someone's shirt, it doesn't have to be this like natural moment in nature, but those things will kind of get burned in my memory, and I kind of go back to the studio and play around with it and try and to remake it. Yeah, the color orange really like went full throttle this summer with all the fires, and especially that day where in the Bay Area, is completely set at dusk and very Blade Runner, post-apocalyptic sort of feeling, and yeah, it just stuck with me. And so there's a lot of orange in there, and kind of again going back to like how dirty can I make an orange, because it was such a hard color to almost place, and then also the shape of there's a lot of circles that are thread throughout the paintings and drawings, and I think it was like that imprint of that sun in the sky and sort of casting this crazy light. Sometimes when I'm like really in it with painting and I kind of just like lose myself in it, sometimes I take a step back, and it's almost, I can have these like moments where I try and imagine like what another artist would do, or like, oh, I'm in these set of problems, how do I get out of it? And like certain artists will just come to me, and I kind of like can feel their like work. And I think that's like a really special thing about just painting itself, is that it's such an old form, going back thousands and thousands of years, and it's just like this simple mark on paper, canvas, and I'm not necessarily trying to do anything new, but like just knowing like the history of it and trying to be a part of it and see, and even try and understand like how someone would make a painting, to me is like kind of a spiritual act of almost just talking to other artists. And I really like the idea of being in this lineage of so many artists, and this practice that has just been going on for thousands of years. But I do have these moments where I'm in the studio and I'm kind of deep in my head and like working out problems, and suddenly I think about like something that I did conjures another painting from another artist, and it's kind of just almost to me like a spiritual experience of suddenly maybe having a glimpse into how they made a painting. And it can't, it's not necessarily always something specific, but it's suddenly maybe like the colors really conjure up something. And I think for me, especially, like painting is just kind of a response to the history of painting, painting as a response to my own painting before, you know, so I'm constantly having this call and response to from one work to the other, and it's definitely emotional and it's process oriented. And so when I have those moments where I just suddenly feel another artist next to me, I guess it's just magical, and sort of being able to have those conversations or dialogue in my studio. The act of painting and being in the studio is kind of where the magic happens, and when the painting's done, my own exercises are done, you know, and I've kind of worked through those moments and those like challenges and curiosities and internal dialogue, and so when a painting's done, I'm, you know, it's up to kind of like the viewer, whatever they want to make of it, and I think that's maybe where I'm like maybe an emotional painter, you know. I'm kind of process oriented and working out my own kind of ideas and emotions through painting, and then when it's done, if a viewer has like a response or a feeling, that's enough and that's warranted, and it can conjure up a space, a time, a feeling, a place, and you know, that's like a silent conversation that they're having with me that I think is interesting, and whether or not I find out what it is, it doesn't really matter, you know.